Admiral Taiho Kong stood on the observation deck of Earth's defense station, staring at the blue planet below. He was 63 years old and had spent 40 of those years serving in Earth's military. His gray hair and tired eyes told the story of a man who had seen too much and hoped for too little. Outside the viewport, 20 alien warships hung in space like vultures, waiting for prey. A message from the Velryx. Empire had arrived 3 hours ago. They wanted 40% of Earth's population. Not for trade. Not for exchange. For slavery. The Velryx called it resource allocation, but everyone knew the truth. They wanted humans to dig in their mines, work in their factories, and die in their colonies far from home. Taiho remembered when humanity first joined the Galactic Coalition 50 years ago. Everyone on Earth had celebrated. They thought they were entering a community of peaceful civilizations. They were wrong. The aliens looked at humans and saw weakness. Humans had no claws, no thick skin, no poison, no natural armor. The aliens decided humanity would serve. For 50 years, Earth had obeyed. They paid heavy taxes. They gave their resources. They accepted insults and discrimination. Human diplomats were made to stand while aliens sat. Human ships were forced to use the slowest routes through space. Human children were taught in schools that they were lucky to be part of the coalition, even as second-class members. Now the Velryx wanted people. Dr. Hannah Lee walked into the observation deck. She was 38, brilliant and angry. She carried a data tablet clutched against her chest. "Admiral, you need to see this." Taiho turned from the viewport. "More demands?" "No, research, old research." Hannah activated a hologram display. Images of human brain scans appeared in the air. "For the past 15 years, I've been studying why humans seem so passive compared to our historical records. We used to be warriors, Admiral. We conquered our entire planet. We survived ice ages, plagues, and predators. Then we met the aliens and became sheep. Your point, Doctor? We didn't become sheep naturally." Hannah expanded the brain scans. "I found trace chemicals in our atmosphere. Someone has been putting them there. They suppress aggression, reduce competitive instincts, and make us more compliant. I tested air samples from before first contact. These chemicals weren't there." Taiho felt something cold settle in his stomach. "The coalition has been drugging us?" "For 50 years. I found the evidence buried in their own databases. They studied us before first contact. They found humans terrifying. Our history of warfare, our refusal to submit, our ability to hold grudges for generations. So they made us forget who we were." The Admiral looked back at the alien warships outside. "Why tell me this now?" "Because I can reverse it. I can flush these chemicals from our atmosphere in 2 weeks. But once I do, there's no going back. Humanity will remember what it means to fight." Taiho was quiet for a long moment. "Do it." The next day, Earth's diplomats went to negotiate with the Velryx. Captain Jiho Park watched the news broadcast from his military barracks. He was 31 and commanded a special forces unit. He had trained his whole life, but never fought a real battle. The coalition didn't let humans fight. They said humans were too valuable for violence. On the screen, Ambassador Kim stood before the Velryx High Command. She spoke calmly about alternatives to taking Earth's people. She offered resources, technology, even territory. The Velryx commander listened with 4 of his arms crossed. Then he gave a signal. The broadcast showed the execution. Quick and brutal. Ambassador Kim and her entire delegation killed in front of cameras to make a point. Earth would obey or Earth would suffer. Jiho turned off the screen. Around him, his soldiers sat in silence. They had all seen it. Every human on Earth had seen it. That night, the Velryx fleet moved into position around Earth. A full blockade. No ships in or out. They would starve humanity into submission if they had to. The coalition sent a message of support to the Velrics. They approved of the blockade. They said Earth needed to learn its place thought in her laboratory. Dr. Hanalei activated the atmospheric processors. The machines hummed to life across the globe. They began pulling the suppression chemicals from the air and replacing them with Earth's natural atmosphere. The process would take 2 weeks. Teho called an emergency meeting of Earth's military leadership. In a secure bunker deep underground, 50 officers gathered around a table. They represented every branch of Earth's defense forces. The coalition thinks we're helpless, Teho said. They've made us helpless. But that ends now. Dr. Lee is removing the chemicals they've been using to control us. In 2 weeks, humanity wakes up. We need to be ready. Ready for what? Asked General Hyeri Wan. She was 45 and had commanded Earth's ground forces for a decade. We have 12 ships. They have thousands. We have weapons designed for defense. They have weapons that can crack planets. We have something they don't, said Colonel Soman Choi. She was the youngest in the room at 29. But she commanded the most elite soldiers on Earth. We have nothing left to lose. Teho activated a hologram. It showed schematics for weapons humanity had never built. Biological weapons, nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, all banned by coalition law. They made the rules to keep us weak. We're done following their rules. Captain Jiho looked at the designs. These are war crimes according to the coalition. The coalition executed our ambassadors on live broadcast, Tahia replied. They're starving our planet. They want to enslave our children. I'm done caring about their laws. The room fell silent. Each officer understood what was being asked. They weren't just planning defense. They were planning revenge. I need to know, Teho said. Who's with me? Every hand rose. Over the next 2 weeks, Earth changed. People reported feeling different, angrier, sharper, more aware. The fog that had settled over humanity for 50 years began to lift. Workers in factories found themselves questioning why they built weapons they weren't allowed to use. Teachers wondered why they taught children to accept discrimination. Parents looked at their kids and felt a fierce protective rage they had never experienced before. The suppression was ending. On day 14, Dr. Hannah Lee ran final tests. The chemicals were gone. Humanity's brain chemistry had returned to its natural state. She sent her report to Admiral Teho with a simple message. We're awake. Teho stood in the command center of Earth's defense station. Around him, officers worked at their stations. Outside, the Velric's blockade waited. The aliens expected surrender within days. They expected humanity to hand over millions of people without a fight. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Activate Project Nightfall, Taia ordered, across Earth. Weapons factories switched to full production. Soldiers who had trained for defense began training for offense. Engineers who built peaceful technology started building instruments of war. And deep in secure facilities, scientists began producing weapons the galaxy had thought humanity too civilized to create. The Velrics sent another message. Earth had 24 hours to begin loading people onto transport ships. If they refused, the bombardment would begin. Teho recorded his response personally. He looked into the camera with eyes that no longer held any trace of submission. You wanted to see humanity's limits. You forced us past them. Now you'll learn what we really are. We're not your servants. We're not your slaves. We're the species that conquered our own world before we could even leave it. And you've just made us remember. He sent the message and turned to his crew. Battle stations. Show them what humanity looks like when it stops being nice. The war was about to begin. The first Valrix attack came at dawn. 200 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was the largest fleet the Valrix had ever assembled. They expected to crush humanity in hours. Captain Jiho Park watched them come from his stealth ship, hidden behind Earth's moon. His crew of 40 soldiers waited in silence. They wore black armor with no insignia. The Coalition prohibited humans from having special forces units. So officially, Jiho and his team didn't exist. "Target confirmed," his pilot whispered. "The flagship is entering weapons range of Earth." Jiho studied the massive vessel on his screen. It was 5 kilometers long and carried 3,000 Valrix warriors. The ship's commander, Admiral Vex, had personally ordered the execution of Earth's diplomats. Now he came to finish the job. "Take us in," Jiho ordered. The stealth ship moved silently through space. The Valrix didn't see them coming. Why would they? Humans didn't attack. Humans didn't fight back. Humans were prey. That was about to change. The stealth ship attached to the flagship's hull like a parasite. Jiho's team burned through the outer armor with plasma cutters. Alarms screamed inside the Valrix ship, but it was too late. 40 human soldiers poured through the breach. The Valrix were stronger than humans. Their 4 arms could tear a person apart. Their thick skin could stop bullets. They had evolved on a heavy gravity world where everything was a predator, but they had never fought humans who remembered how to kill. Jiho moved through the corridors like a shadow. His weapons were simple: knives, close-range firearms, tools designed for one purpose: ending life efficiently. The Valrix tried to fight back, but they had never trained for enemies who didn't follow their code of honor. Humans didn't challenge them to single combat. Humans shot them in the back. Humans used explosives in confined spaces. Humans aimed for joints and weak points with cruel precision. It took Jiho 20 minutes to reach the bridge. Admiral Vex stood surrounded by guards. The Valrix commander was 3 meters tall and heavily armored. He laughed when he saw the humans. "You dare board my ship? I will tear you apart with my bare hands." Jiho didn't respond. He threw a small device at Vex's feet. The Admiral had time to look down before the electromagnetic pulse detonated. Every piece of electronic equipment on the bridge died instantly, including the powered armor the Valrix wore. Then Jiho's team attacked. The fight lasted 3 minutes. The Valrix were stronger, but they were slow in their dead armor. The humans were faster, meaner, and absolutely merciless. When it ended, Admiral Vex lay on the floor with a human knife through his throat. Jiho activated the ship's communication system manually. He broadcast on all frequencies so every Valrix ship could see. He dragged Vex's body in front of the camera. "This is what happens when you threaten Earth. Run." Half the Valrix fleet tried to retreat immediately. They had never seen anything like this. No civilized species boarded enemy ships. No civilized species killed prisoners. No civilized species fought like cornered animals with nothing to lose. The other half of the fleet advanced on Earth, determined to avenge their admiral. They never made it. Earth's defense platforms activated. These weren't the approved weapons humanity was allowed to build. Engineer Eugene Nam had spent the last 2 weeks creating something new. She was 33 and had always been told her weapons designs were too aggressive, too brutal, too uncivilized. Now nobody told her no. The platforms launched missiles armed with nuclear warheads. The Coalition had banned nuclear weapons in space warfare 2,000 years ago. They were considered barbaric. Humans didn't care. The first wave of missiles hit the Valrix fleet while their shields were configured for energy weapons. Nuclear fire consumed ships designed to survive laser strikes and plasma bursts. The Valrix had never planned for enemies who fought dirty, 50 ships died in the first minute. The survivors tried to return fire, but Earth's platforms had already moved. They didn't stay in position like civilized defenders. They scattered and regrouped like a pack of wolves. The Velryx couldn't target them. Colonel Soman Choi watched the battle from Earth's surface. She commanded the Terra Wolves, 2,000 soldiers who had trained for a war the Coalition said would never come. Now her war was here. "Ma'am, Velryx ground forces are landing in China," her second-in-command reported. "Let them land," Soman said calmly. "Then kill them all." The Velryx sent down 5,000 troops. They expected to face primitive human armies with basic weapons. Instead, they found prepared kill zones and soldiers who had studied every Velryx weakness. The Terra Wolves didn't fight in the open. They used buildings for cover. They set traps. They poisoned water supplies with chemicals designed specifically to kill Velryx biology. When the aliens advanced, humans fell back. When the aliens retreated, humans pursued. It was guerrilla warfare perfected over thousands of years of human history. By nightfall, 3,000 Velryx lay dead. The survivors called for evacuation. In orbit, the space battle had turned into a slaughter. The Velryx fleet was down to 60 ships. They tried to regroup, but Earth's platforms hunted them relentlessly. Engineer Yu Xing had also installed weapons the Coalition called war crimes. Chemical warheads that filled ships with toxic gas. Biological agents that targeted Velryx DNA specifically. Kinetic weapons that punched through shields and armor like paper. The Velryx had powerful shields and strong hulls. They had energy weapons that could melt mountains. But they had built everything according to Coalition law. They had fought fair for 2,000 years. Humans had spent 2 weeks remembering how to fight dirty. Counselor Narration addressed Earth's population that night. She was 51 and had served in Earth's government for 20 years. She had always advocated for peace and cooperation with the Coalition. Now she stood before cameras with cold eyes. Today, the Velryx Empire attacked our world. They came with 200 ships. 53 remain. They came with 8,000 troops. Less than 1,000 survive. They thought we were weak. They learned the truth. She paused and looked directly into the camera. To the Galactic Coalition, Earth withdraws from all treaties. We reject your laws. We deny your authority. You forced us to be prey. Now you face predators. Run or die. The message spread across the galaxy at light speed. Alien civilizations watched in shock. Humanity had been quiet and obedient for 50 years. Now they were broadcasting dead Velryx and burning ships like trophies. The Coalition Council held an emergency session. They debated whether to send peacekeepers. They discussed sanctions. They wrote strongly worded messages. While they talked, Earth built more weapons. Captain Geo returned to Earth with his team. They had captured the Velryx flagship intact. Engineer Eugen began studying its systems immediately. Within days, she understood how Velryx faster-than-light drives worked. Within a week, she had improved them. "They're so worried about efficiency and safety," Eugen explained to Admiral Taiho. "They limited their speed to avoid accidents. We can go faster. Much faster." "How much faster?" Taiho asked. "Twice as fast. Maybe 3 times if we remove the safety systems." "Remove them. Build as many as you can." Earth shipyards worked around the clock. The 12 defense ships humanity was allowed to have became 30, then 50, then 100. Each one was built with no regard for Coalition regulations. They were covered in weapons. Their reactors ran at dangerous levels. Their armor was thick, and their shields were strong. They looked like what they were: warships built by a species that had stopped pretending to be civilized. The surviving Velarik's fleet finally retreated to their home system. They sent a message to their emperor, explaining what had happened. The emperor didn't believe them at first. Humans were servants. Humans were weak. Then he watched the recordings. The emperor called an emergency meeting of his military commanders. This is impossible. Humans don't fight like this. His oldest general, a veteran of 100 battles, watched the footage of Jiho's boarding action. Emperor, they fight exactly like humans always fought. We just forgot to check their history. They conquered their entire planet before they learned to fly. They fought wars that killed millions of their own kind. They created weapons that could destroy their world and almost used them. We didn't meet a peaceful species 50 years ago. We met a sleeping predator. And we woke it up. The emperor sat in silence. What do? We surrender, the general said, before they come for us. But it was too late for surrender. Earth wasn't interested in peace anymore. Admiral Tayo stood on the bridge of Earth's new flagship. It was called Retribution, and it carried enough weapons to level a continent. Around it, 99 more warships waited in formation. Set course for the Velarik's home system, Tayo ordered. Maximum speed. His crew worked quickly. They were all volunteers. They all remembered watching their ambassadors die. They all remembered being told humanity existed to serve. The fleet jumped to faster than light speed. They would reach Velarik's space in 3 days. Then the real war would begin. On Earth, Dr. Hanalei finished her latest research. She had been studying old Coalition databases, searching for why the aliens feared humanity enough to drug them for 50 years. What she found made her blood run cold. The Coalition had records going back 10,000 years. And in those records, they had found Earth long before first contact. They had watched humans evolve. They had watched humans hunt predators to extinction. They had watched humans fight each other with increasing brutality. They had watched humans split the atom and point weapons at themselves. The aliens hadn't made first contact to welcome humanity. They had made contact to control humanity before humans became a threat. Now that control was gone. And the galaxy was about to learn what an uncontrolled humanity looked like. 6 months had passed since Earth's awakening. Admiral Tai-Ho Kong stood in the command center of Retribution and looked at the holographic map of local space. 12 star systems glowed blue. They had all been Velarik's territory. Now they belonged to Earth. The conquest had been brutal and quick. The Velariks kept fighting because their pride wouldn't let them surrender. So humanity kept killing them because mercy was a luxury. Earth could no longer afford. Commander Do-Yoon Bae led Earth's hunter-killer squadrons. He was 27 and had cold eyes that never blinked. His job was simple: find every Velarik ship that tried to escape and destroy it. No pry. Sonars, no mercy. No exceptions. Do-Yoon's pilots called themselves the Reapers. They flew small, fast ships equipped with the latest human weapons. When they found Velarik's vessels, they didn't demand surrender. They just attacked. Usually from behind. Usually without warning. Usually with overwhelming force. Sir, we have 3 Velarik's transports trying to flee the Karnak system, his sensor officer reported. Civilian or military? Do-Yoon asked. Does it matter? Do-Yoon smiled without humor. No, destroy them. His squadron moved like sharks through dark water. The Velarik's transports never had a chance. Within minutes, they were debris floating in space. Do-Yoon recorded the kills and moved to his next target. Back on Earth, the Coalition tried one last time to make peace. They sent a delegation of 20 species, all carefully chosen to appeal to human compassion. The delegation arrived in a ship painted white with symbols of peace covering its hull. Consular Narration met them in orbit. She didn't invite them to Earth's surface. She didn't offer them food or comfort. She met them in a cold conference room on a military station. The coalition spokesman was a Threen, a species known for their diplomatic skills. He had 4 eyes and spoke in a calm, soothing voice. Counselor Shin, the coalition wishes to end this conflict. We acknowledge that mistakes were made. The Velrics overstepped. We are prepared to offer reparations. Nari looked at him with eyes like ice. You're prepared to offer reparations? You poisoned our atmosphere for 50 years. You treated us like slaves. You executed our diplomats. And now you want to offer reparations? The Council has voted. The Velric's actions were not approved by the full coalition. We can make this right. You watched the Velrics starve our planet and said nothing. You approved their blockade. You called them heroes for putting humanity in its place. Nari leaned forward. Where was the coalition when we needed peace? You only want peace now because we're winning. The Threen diplomat tried a different approach. We understand your anger, but continued warfare will only lead to more death, more suffering. Surely humanity values life enough to stop this. We valued life, Nari said quietly. We valued peace. We valued cooperation. You taught us those things were weaknesses. Now we value strength. Now we value victory. Now we value revenge. The Council fears this path leads to darkness. Good. Let them fear. You spent 50 years making sure we feared you. Now it's your turn. The delegation left without an agreement. Within hours, the Coalition Council declared Earth a rogue state. They authorized member species to defend themselves against human aggression. It was a meaningless gesture. Nobody wanted to fight humanity. General Hyeri Wan led Earth's first major offensive beyond Velric space. She commanded 50,000 ground troops and 200 warships. Her target was a coalition stronghold called Nexus Prime, a fortress world that housed the coalition's main military academy. The planet's defenders expected a siege. Sieges followed rules. Attackers surrounded, defenders held out, and eventually someone negotiated. That's how civilized warfare worked. Hyeri didn't besiege Nexus Prime. She destroyed it. Her ships arrived and immediately began orbital bombardment. They didn't target military installations only. They targeted infrastructure, power plants, water treatment facilities, communications arrays, food storage, everything that made the planet livable. The defenders scrambled to respond, but Hyeri's forces moved too fast. They hit targets from orbit, then jumped away before return fire could reach them. They came back hours later and hit different targets. They never stopped. They never slowed down. They never gave the defenders time to rest. After 3 days, Nexus Prime's shields failed. After 5 days, their orbital defenses were gone. After a week, the planet was defenseless. Hyeri didn't land troops to occupy it. She just left it burning. A warning to anyone else who thought about resisting. Intelligence. Officer Jung Ho Ru worked in the shadows of Earth's war machine. He was 35 and specialized in extracting information from captured enemies. The Coalition called his methods torture. Junho called them effective. He had a Velric's general strapped to a chair in a dark room. The general had commanded the forces that blockaded Earth. Now he was answering questions. How many ships does the Coalition have in reserve? Junho asked. I won't betray my people, the general growled. Junho pressed a button. Electric current ran through the chair. The Velric screamed. When it stopped, Junho asked again. How many ships? You have no honor. You're animals. Yes, Junho agreed. We are. You made sure of that. Now answer the question, or I'll move on to chemical interrogation. Trust me, you don't want that. It took 6 hours, but the general broke. They all broke eventually. Junho extracted the locations of every coalition military installation, supply depot, and hidden fleet. He learned about secret alliances and backup plans. He discovered which species were loyal to the coalition and which were looking for a way out. He gave all this information to Admiral Taeho. The Admiral studied the intelligence reports in his private quarters. Dr. Hanley sat across from him. She had been researching galactic history, trying to understand why the aliens feared humanity so deeply. "I found something," Hana said. "The Coalition has records going back 12,000 years. And in those records, there's another species that reminds them of us. They were called the Kresh. What happened to them? The Coalition destroyed them. Completely. Every planet. Every ship. Every trace of their existence. The Kresh were aggressive, territorial, and they refused to submit to Coalition authority. The Coalition was young back then, but they learned the lesson. Some species are too dangerous to allow to exist." Taeho looked up. "They were planning to do the same to us." "Eventually, yes. The suppression chemicals were just the first step. They wanted to make us docile enough to control. If that hadn't worked, they would have sterilized Earth. There are proposals in their archives. Plans for how to eliminate humanity without making it look like genocide. They wanted to kill us all. They were afraid we'd become exactly what we're becoming now. A species that doesn't follow their rules. A species that fights total war. A species that can't be controlled." Hana paused. "Taeho, the Kresh lost because they fought alone. Every other species sided with the Coalition. But look at what's happening now." She activated a hologram showing galactic politics. Dozens of species had declared neutrality in the conflict. Some had quietly sent messages to Earth expressing support. The Coalition was fracturing. "We're not alone," Hana said. "Half the galaxy has been waiting for someone to stand up to the Coalition. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for everyone they've oppressed." Taeho stood and walked to his window. Outside, Earth's fleet hung in space. 300 warships now, with more being built every day. Then we'd better win. The Velric's empire finally collapsed 6 weeks later. Their emperor sent a message directly to Admiral Taeho. It was a complete, unconditional surrender. They offered every world they controlled. Every ship. Every resource. Everything. Taeho rejected it. "I don't want your surrender," he told the emperor via video link. "I want you to understand what you did. You looked at humanity and saw servants. You tried to enslave us. You killed our people. You forced us to become monsters. A surrender doesn't fix that. Then what do you want?" The emperor asked. He looked old and broken, nothing like the proud ruler who had authorized Earth's enslavement. "I want your empire erased. I want every Velric's world stripped of military capability. I want your species to remember this war for the next 1,000 years. I want you to teach your children what happens when you push humans too far. You're destroying us." "No," Taeho said coldly. "We're teaching you the same lesson you tried to teach us. You wanted to show us our place? Now we're showing you yours." The Velric's empire was reduced to 3 agricultural worlds. Their military was disbanded. Their fleet was destroyed. Every Velric citizen had to watch mandatory broadcasts about the war and their empire's crimes. It was humiliating. It was cruel. It was designed to make sure they never forgot. Captain Jiho, now General Jiho, after multiple promotions, led the occupation forces. He stood on the steps of the former emperor's palace and addressed the Velric's people. "Your leaders told you that humans were weak. They told you we existed to serve. They lied. We are not weak. We are not servants. We are the species that survived when stronger predators tried to kill us. We are the species that conquered a world of dangers before we learned to fly. You woke us up. Now live with what you created." The message was broadcast across the galaxy. 40 alien species watched in silence. They saw the mighty Velric's empire reduced to nothing. They saw humanity standing over the ashes of their enemies. They understood the message. Don't threaten Earth. But Admiral Tayo knew this was just the beginning. The Velrics had been the weapon the Coalition used against Earth, but the Coalition itself still existed. And as long as it existed, humanity wasn't safe. He called a meeting of Earth's military leadership. General Hyeri, Colonel Somin, Commander Do-Yun, Intelligence Officer Jun-Ho, and Engineer Yujin all gathered in the war room. "The Velrics are finished," Tayo said. But the Coalition authorized their actions. The Council voted to support the blockade. They approved the enslavement order. They're as guilty as the Velrics. "You want to attack the Coalition directly?" Hyeri asked. "I want to destroy it. Completely. Every species that voted against us. Every military force they control. Every station they built. I want the Coalition erased from history." Somin smiled. "How many ships do we have now?" Engineer Yujin pulled up production reports. 400 in active service. Another 600 under construction. We've adapted Velric's technology and improved it. Our ships are faster, tougher, and carry more weapons than anything else in the galaxy. The Coalition has thousands of ships, Juno pointed out, but they're spread across hundreds of systems. And according to my intelligence, most species don't want to fight. They joined the Coalition for protection and trade, not to die in wars. "Then we give them a choice," Tayo said. "Surrender or burn. Anyone who stands against us gets the same treatment as the Velrics. Anyone who surrenders gets to keep their worlds." "And the Coalition Council?" Hyeri asked. Tayo's expression was hard as stone. "They tried to exterminate us. We returned the favor." The meeting ended with everyone knowing what came next. Total war against the most powerful political organization in the galaxy. It should have been impossible. It should have been suicide. But humanity had stopped caring about should and shouldn't. They only cared about revenge. 2 years after the awakening, humanity controlled 40 star systems. The number grew every week. The Coalition watched their empire crumble piece by piece. Unable to stop it. Fleet Admiral Sang-Hoon Kwan commanded Earth's Grand Armada. He was 48 and had earned a reputation that made alien species whisper his name in fear. They called him the Reaper, not because he killed many enemies, but because he killed all of them. When Sang-Hoon's fleet arrived at a system, nothing survived to tell the story. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, Inevitability, and watched his fleet arrange itself in attack formation. 1,000 warships, all built in the last year. Each one was a weapon designed for a single purpose: domination. "Target confirmed, Admiral," his tactical officer reported. "The Coalition capital world. Orbital defenses are active. Planetary shields are at full strength." Sang-Hoon studied the planet below. It was called Unity, home to the Coalition Council. 15 billion civilians lived there, representing 300 species. It was the heart of galactic civilization, untouched by war for 4,000 years. "Begin the assault," Sang-Hoon ordered. The bombardment started with kinetic weapons. Massive metal rods accelerated to near light speed. They hit Unity's shields like the fist of an angry god. The shields held, but barely. And came the missiles. Nuclear warheads. Antimatter bombs. Weapons that turned space into fire. The shields began to fail section by section. Unity's defenders fought back. Their orbital platforms unleashed everything they had. Energy beams. Plasma cannons. Quantum torpedoes. But human shields were different now. Engineer Yujin had designed them to absorb and redirect energy. Every shot the Coalition fired made human shields stronger. Within 3 hours, Unity's shields collapsed. Within 6 hours, their orbital defenses were gone. Within 12 hours, the planet was helpless. Sang-hoon didn't order a landing. He didn't need to occupy Unity. He just needed to make a point. Target all major cities, he commanded. Fire. His officers hesitated. Sir, that's 15 billion civilians. Those civilians voted for the council that tried to enslave Earth. Those civilians supported the Velrix blockade. Those civilians watched our ambassadors die and did nothing. Sang-hoon's voice was cold as space. Fire. The bombardment of Unity lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the capital world of the Galactic Coalition was a burning ruin. The council chambers were destroyed. The grand libraries were ash. The monuments to 4,000 years of civilization were rubble. Sang-hoon broadcast a message across all Coalition frequencies. This is Fleet Admiral Sang-hoon Kwan of Earth. Your capital is gone. Your leaders are dead. Your empire is finished. Anyone who continues to resist will receive the same treatment. Surrender or die. Across the galaxy, 50 species surrendered immediately. They had no choice. Humanity had proven they would do anything to win, but 50 species refused to surrender. They believed the Coalition could still win. They believed humanity's rage would burn out. They believed civilized order would return. They were wrong. Specialist Yunji Ko had been a diplomat before the war. She was 32 and had spent years trying to build bridges between Earth and alien species. Then she watched her mentor die on live broadcast, executed by the Velrix. Now she built different things. Yenji specialized in psychological warfare. Her job was to break enemy morale before battles even started. She did this by showing the truth. When resistance worlds refused to surrender, Yunji hacked their communication networks. She broadcast recordings of Coalition leaders in private meetings. The aliens watching saw their leaders talk about inferior species with contempt. They heard plans to exploit weaker civilizations. They learned about secret deals and hidden corruption. The Coalition had ruled by pretending to be noble and just. Yunji destroyed that pretense. She showed the galaxy that their rulers were no different from the Velrix. They just hid it better. Entire species turned against the Coalition after seeing Yunji's broadcasts. Governments fell. Alliances collapsed. The Coalition's foundation cracked. Commander Minho Shah led the Ghost Division, humanity's most feared unit. He was 39 and commanded 100 ships designed for stealth and terror. When the Coalition deployed fleets to defend critical systems, those fleets would simply disappear. No distress calls. No wreckage. No survivors. Just empty space where a fleet used to be. The Ghost Division hunted like wolves in the night. They would track Coalition fleets for weeks, learning their patterns. Then they would strike when the enemy was most vulnerable. During maintenance cycles. During crew rotations. During the quiet hours when nobody expected an attack. Minho's weapons were different from the main fleet. He used specialized tools designed to leave no evidence. Nanic clouds that dissolved ships from the inside out. Gravity weapons that crushed vessels into singularities. Biological agents that killed crews but left ships intact for later study. The Coalition tried to hunt him. They sent their best trackers and their fastest ships. None of them came back. Sir, we have another target, Minho's intelligence officer reported. Coalition supply convoy, 20 freighters, escorted by 30 warships. How important are the supplies? Minho asked. Critical. Food and medicine for 3 Coalition strongholds. Destroy everything. Make sure some of them have time to send distress calls. I want the Coalition to know their supplies aren't coming. I want them to starve while they wait for help that never arrives. The Ghost Division moved into position. Within hours, the convoy was gone. But this time, Minho let one ship escape. A single freighter that broadcast the entire attack. The Coalition watched the recording and saw their ships torn apart by an enemy. They couldn't see. Fear spread faster than any weapon. General Jiho Park stood on the surface of a conquered Coalition world. Around him, thousands of alien prisoners knelt in rows. They were military officers who had refused to surrender. The Coalition High Command had ordered them to fight to the last soldier. So they did. Now they were prisoners of war. Jiho walked among them slowly. Your leaders told you to die for the Coalition. But they're not here, are they? They sent you to fight while they hid in bunkers. They promised you victory while they planned their escape. The prisoners said nothing. Coalition military doctrine taught them to resist interrogation. I'm not going to torture you, Jiho continued. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to send you home. All of you. With a message. The prisoners looked confused. Humans didn't release prisoners. Everyone knew that. Tell your people what you saw here. Tell them how easily we defeated you. Tell them that humanity doesn't forgive and doesn't forget. Tell them that every species that supported the Coalition's attempt to enslave Earth will pay the price. And tell them that this price has no limit. Jiho had the prisoners loaded onto transports and sent back to Coalition space. It was a calculated move. Those soldiers would spread fear more effectively than any weapon. They would tell stories of human brutality. They would describe the hopelessness of fighting an enemy that never stopped. More species. Surrendered. Dr. Hana Lee continued her research in the ruins of Coalition databases. She had been collecting information for 2 years, building a complete picture of galactic history. What she found was disturbing. The Coalition had existed for 4,000 years. During that time, they had encountered 17 species that reminded them of humanity. Aggressive, independent, unwilling to submit. The Coalition had destroyed all 17. Sometimes through direct warfare. Sometimes through economic isolation. Sometimes through biological weapons. That looked like natural plagues. Humanity was supposed to be number. 18. Hana brought her findings to Admiral Taiho. He read her report in silence. They've been doing this for thousands of years, Hana said. Any species that shows independence gets eliminated. The Coalition calls it maintaining order, but it's really about control. They can't allow anyone to challenge their power. How many species know about this? Taiho asked. Most of them suspect. But the Coalition has hidden the evidence well. Until now, I've compiled everything. Every genocide. Every cover-up. Every lie they've told for 4 millennia. Release it. All of it. Let the galaxy see what their Coalition really is. Hana's research spread across every communication network. Billions of aliens read the truth about their government. They learned about the Kresh, wiped out 3,000 years ago for refusing to pay Coalition taxes. They learned about the Ven, sterilized by a plague the Coalition created. They learned about species after species, all destroyed for the crime of wanting freedom. The revelation shattered what remained of Coalition unity. Member species didn't just surrender to humanity. They actively joined the war against the Coalition. Old grudges surfaced. Ancient hatreds boiled over. The galaxy tore itself apart. Within months, 90 Coalition species had switched sides. They joined Earth's alliance or declared independence. Only the core Coalition species remained loyal, and even they were wavering. Fleet Admiral Sang-hoon reached the Coalition's last major stronghold. It was a fortress system with 3 planets and defensive stations that could withstand anything. Or so the Coalition believed. Sang-hoon didn't attack the fortresses. He bypassed them completely. His fleet jumped past the defenses and attacked the civilian infrastructure behind them. Water treatment plants, fusion reactors, hydroponic farms, everything that kept the 3 planets alive. The fortresses couldn't protect the civilians without abandoning their positions. If they abandoned their positions, Sang-hoon's fleet would destroy them in open space. They were trapped. "This is inhumane," the coalition commander broadcast. "You're targeting civilians." Sang-hoon responded personally. "You targeted our entire planet. You tried to enslave billions of humans. You executed our ambassadors. Now you complain about fairness? Surrender or watch your people starve." The fortress system surrendered after 3 days. Admiral Taiho called a meeting of all Earth's commanders. They gathered on the Bridge of Retribution, humanity's first warship, preserved as a symbol of how far they had come. 2 years ago, we were slaves, Taiho said. 1 year ago, we were conquerors. Today, we stand on the edge of total victory. The coalition is broken. Their capital is destroyed. Most of their species have surrendered or joined us. What remains is cleanup. What about the council members? General Hayeri asked. The ones who authorized our enslavement? Intelligence Officer Jung-ho activated a hologram. It showed 12 faces. The Coalition Council's inner circle. The ones who had voted to support the Velorics. The ones who had approved the atmospheric chemicals. The ones who had planned to eventually eliminate humanity. "I've been tracking them," Jung-ho said. "They went into hiding when Unity fell. But I found them. All of them." "Good," Taiho said. "Hunt them down. Every single one. I don't care if they hide in the deepest bunker or the farthest star. Find them and make sure they face justice. Human justice or coalition justice?" Commander Do-yun asked Tae-ho, smiled without warmth. "Is there a difference anymore?" "We're writing the new laws now." The hunt began immediately. Earth's best trackers, assassins, and intelligence operatives spread across the galaxy. The former council members tried to hide, but there was nowhere safe. Humanity controlled half the galaxy and had allies everywhere else. One by one, they were found. One by one, they faced trial for crimes against humanity. One by one, they were executed. The last council member was found hiding on a remote agricultural world. General Jiho personally led the capture team. The old alien had been living as a farmer, hoping humanity would forget. "Did you really think we'd forget?" Jiho asked him. "It's been 2 years," the council member said. "Surely enough blood has been spilled." Jiho looked at him with eyes that had seen too much death. "Blood? This isn't about blood. This is about making sure nobody ever tries this again. You wanted to enslave humanity. You wanted to destroy us. Now the galaxy will remember what happens when someone threatens Earth." The trial lasted 1 hour. The execution was broadcast across every remaining coalition world. The message was clear. There was no escape from human justice. 5 years after the awakening, humanity stood alone at the top of the galaxy. The Galactic Coalition no longer existed. In its place was the Terran Imperium, and Supreme Commander Taiho Kong ruled it with an iron fist. Tae-ho was 68 now. His hair was white, and his face showed every hard decision he had made. He stood in the command center of Citadel Prime, a massive space station orbiting Earth. Below him, the blue planet turned peacefully. Above him, the stars belonged to humanity. Chancellor Narration entered the command center. She had aged too, but her eyes were still sharp. She carried reports from across the Imperium. "The integration is proceeding well," she said. "Most former coalition species have accepted their new status. We have minor resistance on 12 worlds, but nothing significant." "Their status is what?" Taiho asked. "Protectorates. They govern themselves locally, but all major decisions require our approval. Military forces are limited. No weapons development. No alliances without permission. We're doing to them what the Coalition did to us. Yes, Murray said simply. But we're honest about it. We don't pretend to be equals. We don't drug them into compliance. They know exactly where they stand. Tai-Hao looked at the galactic map. Half of it glowed blue for human control. The other half showed various colors for independent species that had sworn loyalty to Earth. How many species are under our protection now? 247. And that number grows every month. The Outer Rim species keep requesting membership. They'd rather serve humanity than risk being conquered by someone worse. Are we worse, Nari? Are we the monsters they say we are? The Chancellor considered this. We're exactly what they made us. They wanted slaves, so we became masters. They wanted to see our limits, so we showed them. The galaxy will never forgive us for what we've done. But they'll never forget it either. Dr. Hana Lee worked in a laboratory deep inside, Citadel Prime. She was 43 now and Earth's leading expert on xenobiology. Her latest project was different from her usual research. She was studying humanity itself. We've changed, she told her assistant. Not just psychologically, biologically. The aggression we suppressed for 50 years has rewired our neural pathways. We're more alert, more competitive, more territorial. The average human today would barely recognize their great-grandparents. Is that bad? Hannah looked at tissue samples under her microscope. I don't know. We're surviving. We're thriving. But we've lost something too. Children born after the awakening don't understand concepts like mercy or compassion the way we used to. They only know strength and victory. Maybe that's what it takes to survive in this galaxy. Maybe. Or maybe we've become exactly what the Coalition feared. A species too dangerous to coexist with. Grand Admiral Soman Choi commanded the Long Watch, humanity's eternal patrol fleet. She was 34 and had never known peace. Her entire adult life had been war. Now she ensured that war never reached Earth. Again, Soman's fleet consisted of 5,000 warships spread across the galaxy's edges. They watched for threats from unknown space. They intercepted any ship that approached human territory without permission. They enforced the Imperium's laws with absolute authority. Ma'am, we have unauthorized vessels entering Sector 7, her tactical officer reported. Species? Soman asked. Unknown. The configuration doesn't match any database records. Contact them. Standard warning. The communications officer opened a channel. Unknown vessels. You are entering Terran Imperium space. Identify yourselves immediately or be destroyed. The response came in a language nobody recognized. But the tone was clear. It wasn't friendly. They're powering weapons, the tactical officer said. Soman didn't hesitate. Destroy them. Her fleet opened fire. The unknown ships fought back with weapons that were new and dangerous. But they were outnumbered and outgunned. Within an hour, all hostile vessels were debris. Scan the wreckage, Soman ordered. I want to know what they were and where they came from. Engineer Eugene Nam examined the alien technology. She was 38 and had designed most of humanity's current weapons. She studied the unknown ships with professional interest. This is advanced, she told Soman. More advanced than anything in the former Coalition. Whoever built these ships is a serious threat. Can we track where they came from? Their navigation computers are fried, but I can analyze their hull composition. They came from beyond the galactic rim. There's another civilization out there, and they're not friendly. Soman sent a report to Supreme Commander Tai-Hao. A new threat from unknown space. Potentially hostile. Potentially powerful. Tay, who'll read the report, and smiled grimly. Let them come. The galaxy will see what happens when you threaten humanity. The Velric species still existed on their 3 agricultural worlds. They had been reduced from a galactic empire to farmers and laborers. Every Velric's child was taught about the war. They learned how their empire's pride had led to destruction. They learned never to challenge humanity. A young Velrix named Krax stood in a memorial museum on his homeworld. Around him were displays showing the war. Images of burning ships, cities in ruins, the execution of their emperor. His teacher, an old veteran who had survived the conflict, stood beside him. "Why did we lose?" Krax asked. "Because we forgot that strength isn't just about size or weapons," the veteran said. "The humans were smaller than us, weaker physically, but they had something we didn't. They had the will to do anything to survive. When we blockaded their world, we thought we broke them. We just made them desperate. And desperate humans are the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Will they always rule us? Yes, and we deserve it. We tried to enslave them. We forced them to become monsters. Now we live with those monsters. The only mercy they show us is that we're still alive." Across the galaxy, other species told similar stories. The coalition races that had supported the Velrics now served the Imperium. The species that had remained neutral were allowed to keep some independence. But everyone understood the new reality. Humanity was in charge. Forever, Chancellor Nari established the Terran government with simple rules. Every protectorate species could govern itself internally. They could keep their cultures and traditions. But they had no military power. They had no right to make alliances. And they absolutely could not threaten human interests. "This is tyranny," a Threne diplomat said during a council meeting. "You're no better than the coalition was." "You're right," Nari agreed. "We're not better. We're worse. The coalition pretended to be fair. We don't pretend anything. You exist because we allow it. You have freedom because we grant it. And if you ever threaten Earth again, we will erase your species from history. That's not a threat. That's a promise." The diplomat left in silence. There was nothing to say. Humanity had all the power and no interest in sharing it. Engineer Yujin completed her greatest project 5 years after the war. It was called the Ragnarok Array, 100 weapons platforms positioned around Earth, each carrying enough firepower to sterilize a planet. They were the ultimate defense and the ultimate threat. If anyone attacks Earth, even if they destroy our fleet, these platforms will activate, Yujin explained to Supreme Commander Tayo. "They're automated and impossible to hack. They'll target every major population center of the attacking species. Within hours, that species will be extinct. And if someone tries to destroy the platforms, they're shielded by technology we adapted from 6 different species. It would take a sustained assault from 1,000 ships to damage even one. And the moment someone tries, all 100 activate automatically." Taiho looked at the technical specifications. "This is genocide as a defense system." "Yes, but nobody will attack if they know the cost. This ensures Earth is never threatened again." The Ragnarok Array was activated, and its existence was broadcast across the galaxy. The message was clear. Attack Earth and your entire species dies. Not just your military. Not just your government. Everyone. Some species protested. They called it barbaric and uncivilized. Humanity didn't care. The coalition had tried to eliminate them. The Velrics had tried to enslave them. Now Earth had the power to ensure nobody ever tried again. Commander, Minho's Ghost Division continued operating in the shadows. They had new orders now. Instead of destroying fleets, they monitored the galaxy for potential threats. They infiltrated alien governments. They sabotaged weapons research. They ensured that no species could ever challenge humanity again. We've become the thing we hated, Minho told his second-in-command one night. The coalition controlled everyone through fear and manipulation. Now we do the same. Is there another way? Maybe once. Not anymore. We crossed too many lines during the war. We did things that can't be undone. Now we have to keep doing them to maintain control. If we show weakness, if we show mercy, someone will try to destroy us. And we can't allow that. The Ghost Division's existence was officially denied. But everyone knew they were out there, watching, waiting, ready to strike at anyone who threatened the IMPERIUM Supreme Commander. Taiho called a meeting of Earth's leadership on the 10th anniversary of the Awakening. Admiral Sang-hoon, General Hyeri, Colonel Somin, Commander Do-yun, Commander Ming-ho, Intelligence Officer Jun-ho, Engineer Yujin, Dr. Hana, and Chancellor Nari all gathered in the council chamber. 10 years ago, the Velrics tried to enslave us, Taiho said. 5 years ago, we destroyed the coalition. Today, we control half the known galaxy. The question is, what do we do now? We keep expanding, Sang-hoon said. There are still independent systems, still potential threats. We've expanded enough, Hana argued. We control more territory than we can properly govern. We should consolidate. The threats from beyond the rim concern me, Somin added. Those unknown ships suggest there are civilizations out there we don't know about. Potentially hostile ones. Taiho listened to the debate. Finally, he spoke. We will maintain our current territory. We will strengthen our defenses. And we will prepare for new threats. Because they will come. The galaxy knows what we are now. They know what we're capable of. Some will want revenge. Some will want to test us. We need to be ready. And what about mercy? Henna asked quietly. What about forgiveness? Will we ever stop being the monsters they made us? The room fell silent. Everyone understood the question. Humanity had won through brutality and ruthlessness. They had abandoned every principle they once held. They had become exactly what the coalition feared. No, Taiho said finally. We can't go back. The galaxy won't let us. If we show weakness, they'll exploit it. If we show mercy, they'll see it as opportunity. We have to stay strong. We have to stay vigilant. We have to remain the species that defeated the coalition. Because the moment we forget what we're capable of, someone will remind us. And we might not survive the lesson. A signal interrupted the meeting. Commander Minho's voice came through the communication system. Sir, we've detected multiple fleets approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Unknown configuration. Estimated strength, 10,000 ships. Everyone in the room tensed. This was it. The new threat they had been preparing for Taiho stood and walked to the window. Outside, Earth turned peacefully. Billions of humans lived their lives, unaware of the approaching danger. He had spent 10 years ensuring they would never face extinction again. Sound General Quarters, Taiho ordered. Activate all fleets. Prepare the Ragnarok Array. Send a message to the Protectorate species. Anyone who fights with us will be rewarded. Anyone who sides against us will be destroyed. He turned to face his commanders. These people had built an empire from ashes. They had turned humanity from prey into predators. Now they would face their greatest test. They forced us past our limits once, Taiho said. They took our mercy and crushed it. What remains is strength, determination, and the absolute certainty that Earth will never kneel again. Let this new enemy come. Let them see what humanity has become. We've forgotten how to be merciful, but we've perfected how to be inevitable. The commanders left to prepare their forces. Earth's fleet began mobilizing. The Ragnarok Array powered up. Across the galaxy, human forces moved into position. Dr. Hana stayed behind with Tayo. Do you think we'll win? We have to. There's no other option. If we lose, humanity dies. If we win, we prove once again that nobody threatens Earth. And if winning requires us to do terrible things, if it requires us to cross lines we haven't crossed yet, Taiho looked at her with eyes that had seen too much war. Then we'll cross those lines. We'll do whatever it takes. Because the Coalition taught us a lesson we'll never forget. The galaxy doesn't reward kindness or mercy. It rewards strength and ruthlessness. We became what we are because we had no choice. Now we stay what we are because changing back means dying. Outside, the stars waited. Somewhere in the darkness, an unknown enemy approached. They would learn the same lesson the Velrics had learned. The same lesson the Coalition had learned. Humanity had been pushed past its limits. Mercy was gone forever, and the galaxy would never be the same.